London's Portobello Market is synonymous with style. Thousands of shoppers regularly trawl the streets of West London every weekend in search of a bargain. A hub of cool Britannia, it's the ideal place to find out what we're all wearing this season. Vintage or high street?
Definitely vintage. The fabrics are real. The cuts are beautiful. The tailoring's fantastic. And it's romantic for me because I remember Granny and Mummy and Auntie and everybody else, and it's good to see it all come round again. But mainly because of the quality of the fabrics.
I prefer like vintage because I sort of like realised a lot of like high street fashion stores like copying vintage, and they're like always vintage looks the best. And yeah, well, I have to say I still buy high street, but I prefer vintage if I have to choose one.
Vintage because like in the high street you can buy thousands of the same thing and everyone can have it, whereas in vintage you can basically go out and buy something really individual and like express your personality, and I think it's less tacky.
But if you look at the new industry right now, there's nothing been created. The only thing that has been created is what have been forgotten. So when we're just doing the reviving the old stock, the old style, that's exactly what's happening. So there's nothing new.
I'd prefer vintage to high street just because at least I know that when I'm walking around that someone isn't going to have the same thing on as what I have. And I think that's a bit of an embarrassment if you go to the same place and someone's wearing exactly the same clothes as you. And vintage, you've got so much more style. The fabric's always better. It's much better quality than you get on the high street nowadays, and especially for the price.
They don't really make them, it's a real cliche, but they really don't make them the way they used to. Just because of the stitches and the care that goes into them, things like the buttons, the quality of the buttons even, they're just not the same anymore. And it's things like Primark and H&M, which I do shop at, but I think it's really overtaken fashion, and people will use those stores as a safe bet because really they cater for all shapes and sizes, literally, and people really aren't really afraid to take risks.
It's all the way, man. You don't look like everyone else, do you?
Vintage all the time, because all the high street do is come and get the original down here and go and copy it. By that time, it's ruined, and vintage is for the chosen few who have style. I've never dressed on the high street. It's for unique taste, and there'll always be people like that around.
Yeah, that's what I would say as well.
And here you have a Parisian.
Yeah.
Wearing an Afghani hat he just bought here on Portobello today.
Yeah, that's right. Just bought it 10 minutes ago. And things you can't find in Paris anyway. That's why we come to London.